Hi, I'm Jean from St. Lucia, and you're watching Favorites on Live in Limbo. Some of my favorite fan interaction moments from the last few years have actually happened in the last few nights because on this tour is the first time that I've gotten a wireless mic. So what I've started doing is going out into the audience during Love Somebody and just like walking around and dancing with people and doing selfies with them, which has been really fun. And there's just been like literally, I can't even name one specifically, but there've just been so many moments where I've just like danced with the fan, literally in the audience, and all these people have been around, and it's been so much fun. Getting really close with the audience and dancing with them. I mean, it just makes me feel really connected with my fans, and it's just so good because I feel like sometimes when you're on stage and you have bright lights shining in your face, it's actually difficult to see people's faces. And if you do see their faces, you normally only see kind of the people in the first few rows. And so it's just cool to like get into the audience and just walk through and really kind of see people and look them in the eyes and sing to them, or sing to like their friends on Snapchat or whatever they're using on their phones. It's a lot of fun. My favorite artist right now, I mean, I go through so many different phases with artists, but I've really been loving this artist, Jamie Woon, who's from the UK. I've been loving his new album. It's just, it's like very understated, new R&B, I guess, for want of a better word. It's like, in a way, like listening to his album makes me feel like I'm listening to like the epitome of adult contemporary. Like it's really classy music, beautifully recorded, perfect for like dinner in a way, which sounds kind of like an insult, but it's, you really have to listen to it and then you'll get what I'm talking about. It's really cool. My favorite person to follow just on social media in general right now is, I think, J-Pat from The Knox. I mainly see his posts on my Facebook feed, but he always posts the most hilarious things, and he's a very good friend of mine. So it's just like great to be able to interact with him in that way. My favorite method for discovering new music and artists in general is probably listening to radio stations from around the world. And probably my favorite radio station right now is, and actually has been for a while, is Radio Nova from Paris. Because I just feel like, the French have slightly different listening habits to maybe what people in the US do or a lot of different countries. And so I just find I love that their music selection is so eclectic, and they play some world music, some indie, some classic rock and roll, some classic jazz, like a lot of different things. And I basically have Shazam open constantly when I'm listening to it, because almost every track I'm just like, what is this? What is this? I mean, that's how I discovered Jamie Woon. It's how I discovered so many of my current favorite bands and artists. My favorite part of recording Dancing on Glass, wow, I mean, it was such a blow. I feel like we recorded so many things kind of at the same time. But what was really interesting to me was how, when we started at least writing that song, when me and Tim Pagnotta started writing that song, how it just felt really forced to me and unnatural, but then how I really sort of, over the 3 days that we spent together, really, really fell in love with that song, from just feeling like I was forcing this thing to having it feel completely natural. It was like such a strange sort of mental experiment. My favorite part of dancing on stage is being able to just, sounds corny, but lose myself in the moment. I think, there are some shows where maybe just your energy's a bit low, or just you're having a bit of a weird day, but some shows I'm just like a little bit in my head and I'm kind of like thinking a little bit too much. But the best shows are the ones where I just feel like I'm losing myself and almost like there's no sense of time or anything. It's just like everything's happening by instinct, and you just have this amazing connection with the audience, with the people around me in my band. those are my favorite moments. It can definitely dancing on stage can definitely be dangerous. I've definitely pulled a few back muscles, and there was one show in Kansas City where I remember we were playing September, and September's like the third last song in our set, I think, or was at the time, and I did some move, and I just like did something to my back, and basically had to like end the set with September because I just like could barely move. And I thought I'd like had a slip disc or something, but it kind of fixed itself over a few days. But yep, that has happened a few times. My favorite part of touring with my wife is, having somebody that I can bitch about everybody else with at the end of the day behind closed doors, sometimes. And then also just, being able to experience all these different places and parts of the world and parts of America together, like we love, if we have days off and we're in a beautiful place, we love going on a hike or like going and finding some great food, or going shopping together or something. I think it's made touring a lot easier for us, like having each other together that we can share it with. I feel like we are able to separate home life and touring life, but then I also don't know what that is, like what the separation is. Like it's not a conscious thing, what we do is a huge part of our lives, and like most of our really good friends are people that we work with. We're very fortunate to have a very close-knit group of, we're very close with our manager. Like we hang out, besides just working together, and our business manager and the band and our tour, everybody's sort of very close. And so I think in many ways it does bleed together. But I think that we have a healthy way of thinking about it. We don't let it sort of affect the way that we feel about each other and I think the fact that we are together helps us to be stronger through sometimes when it's a little more difficult in certain ways. My favorite moment creating the new album was, it's hard to pick one moment, but I would just say, having all these, because this album was written in a very different way to the last album, in that, the last album was written in my recording studio that I had in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. And I had all my instruments around me. I had basically the perfect situation for writing and recording an album. But with this one, we were on the road a lot, and I basically lost my recording studio. And so, I was basically writing on my laptop in like the van or in the bus or whatever we were in at the time. And then my favorite part was just, actually then eventually getting into the studio and being able to really fully express all the ideas that had just been floating around in my head for years. Being in the studio is one of my favorite things for sure. The most memorable venue to perform at in the world was probably, I have to think about this because we performed at so many amazing venues. Hollywood Bowl. Definitely the Hollywood Bowl in LA was an incredible, incredible experience. Such like a legendary venue, so beautiful. The sound system is amazing. The weather was amazing when we were there. It was great. My favorite lesson that I've learned about music and perfection, or the idea of perfectionism, I guess, is patience. That you can't rush things. You have to allow things to unfold in the time that they're meant to unfold in. And that it's also important to not allow your perfectionism to stop your ideas. Like, I think it's very important when you're in the writing phase, at least, to almost like not judge any of your ideas at all, to just kind of allow them to freely come out, even if maybe there's some voice at the back of your head that's like, that's corny or that's cheesy, to just sort of allow everything to come out, because the more stuff you're allowed to come out, the broader the palette you'll have in the end to choose from when you're actually like compiling the record, or you're deciding what songs you want to have on the album. So I would say, if you're making music or you're making any art, just let it flow in the beginning at least, and then you can always edit later.